Right, and honestly, I will admit that I haven't done enough research into regulation specifically. I am not opposed, however, to something like you talked about Section 230 reform.
Yeah,
I would be okay with that. Like,
yeah.
I would be okay with talking about that. But I think my problem is when people like Trump say that we need to get rid of Section 230 protections when it's like they just don't know what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah, he's stringing himself up with that. That would be the end of all of these conservative
channels. Section 230 was gone, like, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation live right now.
Well, we would, because I'm verified on YouTube.
Ah, okay.
And that's the way it works. The elites are allowed. And I think that's what's coming, right? Do you guys see that Pornhub just nuked all unverified content? Luke's nodding because he probably discovered it like manually. Like, he was browsing. He's like, "Where's my favorite videos?"
Yeah, exactly.
Pornography is a sin, and it's a rotting away the youth of this nation and destroying their brains. And there's a strong argument.
Is that a real opinion?
There's a strong argument to make against pornography and the effects, especially on young children, that it's having, that is rotting their brains away, literally.
I don't like porn.
I think there's good porn. Like 1 out of every 30 is good. This is personal. This is anecdotal. But where they actually like each other. Like, find out during the sex that they like each other.
We're not talking about porn. We're talking about...
Let's talk about how you can't get a non-partisan group.
No. Listen,
we're
talking about how Pornhub nuked all unverified content.
We're talking about bureaucracy.
Yeah. Yes.
We're talking about censorship. All unverified content was removed. YouTube did this thing where it started pulling verification badges from channels. I think YouTube is, listen, it's a long known in Silicon Valley thing that you can't change the rules overnight. When the famous story that I've told many, many times is that eBay used to be yellow. You probably never heard this story, I'll tell you. So the original eBay website was yellow. One day they said, yellow is like off-putting. We're like, we're gonna make a white background.
Yeah.
The next day, everybody revolted. They were like, the site's awful. We hate it. What happened? And they were getting endless complaints from people. So they immediately changed it back. Okay, yellow. Then the next day, and for every day then on, they slowly incremented one tiny bit towards white until a year later, the website was white. No one cared.
Because no one noticed.
Exactly. No one noticed. Yeah. So what's happening now, I think, is you see Pornhub does this and everyone's like, well, it's Pornhub, whatever. That makes sense, right? Because there were crazy accusations about, trafficking and underage girls. That I did always think that was kind of weird. That, like, anybody could upload stuff to Pornhub, and I'm like, how do they verify the ages of these people? You know what I mean?
I used to think that same kind of stuff.
Like you probably got to verify that kind of stuff,
right?
Especially if it could be trafficking. You need to make sure there's these people are consenting to this stuff. But then I just think what's going to happen with YouTube. They did the verification removal wave where all these channels got their badges removed.
Actually, if I could just really quickly cut in, because I remember that happening, because I was actually one of the creators that got contacted by YouTube, and I was told that my creator badge was going to be taken. And I was like pissed AF about it, obviously. And then YouTube quickly said they weren't going to do that.
Yeah, they because there was there was a revolt. Right. And that's the point,
but
right?
How is that censorship, though?
Well, censorship is just like, hiding information.
Yeah, but like taking the checks away that's not censorship.
So it's frogs in a pot, right? Now, since then, they've been pulling people from the partner program. Instead of doing a wave of removing badges, they said, okay, we got to do it one by one individually to random people in different communities so that no one gets angry and starts a news cycle about it. Since then, they've purged tons of channels. This year alone, YouTube said in their own statement, 8,000 channels have been deleted.
Yeah.
So that's how they slowly start getting rid of them without causing an uproar. The reason I bring this up is in the Section 230 conversation.
Yeah.
What I think is going to happen is eventually YouTube's going to be like, you have to be verified to produce on YouTube. So that's why I said we'll probably be fine because I am a verified YouTube channel. They never threaten to take my badges away. I have direct contact with people at Google. They tell me like when there's rule changes, I can call them and they clarify, and then they like me in that regard because I'm rather milquetoast, I suppose.
Well, the boiling the frog analogy is good because not a lot of people know this, but Scott Adams and Jeff Berwick just had their channels totally taken off. And just like you said, same thing kind of happened to me, but then they got rid of my partner program later on. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And another important thing that YouTube announced is that they also will start putting advertisements on channels that are not in the partner program anymore. So they could put ads on mine, and I'm getting comments saying, hey, there was an ad. I'm happy I got, I was able to watch it for you, Luke. And I'm like, I'm not in the partner program anymore. Right. And that just happened a couple days ago.
Are you verified? Like, do you have a check mark?
I used to be verified. I believe they took it away as well with the partnership program. Yeah.
So I think what's going to happen next is they're probably not going to say anything because they don't have to. But channels that don't have verification probably already are deranked in the algorithm.
Yeah.
I can't speak for I know I can't speak from anecdotes, but God, my channel's doing horrible right now, and I'm verified. So,
well, that's because
that's because I left the right.
Well, so. Yeah, if you build an audience up where you say something like, backflips are the best, and then all the backflip fans are going, yeah, and then you change, I was wrong, front flips are better. They're going to be like, boo.
Right, and that's exactly what's happening to me now.
But if
start purging my audience of some farther right people, unfortunately.
Have you thought about making a new channel?
No, because no. It's challenging enough right now to try to manage the one, and it's just like when I announced that I was leaving the right, having built a conservative audience, I knew that was going to be extremely controversial, and I knew that it was going to be pretty detrimental to my career for the time being, also as far as like view counts and everything goes, which is one of the reasons why I get really frustrated when people call me a grifter. They say that I just ditched the right and joined the left for the money or whatever. And I'm like, I lost like 50,000 subs so far for acknowledging that I no longer really align with the right.
I think the hardest thing would probably be to just choose to be wrong,
Yeah, it was hard to.
I'm kidding.
Oh, really?
No,
I'm sorry. I thought you meant choosing to acknowledge that you were wrong.
No. Well, I guess that's a good point.
Because I did do that.
You've decided to leave the right. I'm kidding, by the way.
What did you start to take issue with that you used to believe?
I started taking issues just with the right wing kind of in general first, and I know that, conservatives, they're very broad. I'm not trying to prescribe this on all conservatives by any means, but my experience anyway, I felt like, especially the further right you went, tradition took precedent. And so it was tradition over really anything else, even if that was at the expense of other people's rights. So I have a total problem with people who, although maybe not conservative, would be far right, having those people being against gay marriage because it's not traditional.
Well, Trump's for gay marriage, and he was pro gay marriage before he even ran. And then he's the first president to be pro gay marriage before becoming president.
Yeah.
He entered office. He had that famous photo where he's unfurling the LGBT flag.
But that's the problem is that's all he's done. He's been very detrimental for the LGBT community.
But maybe the GBT community. But I think there's a lot of lesbians that are actually very, very much in support of him. He actually has a really large base of gay men too. Interestingly,
like Peter Thiel spoke at the RNC, and that was the first time a gay man spoke at the RNC.
More importantly, Trump gave a speech at the RNC and got the Republicans to clap and cheer for the LGBT community. That was. That may just be clapping. It's not really policy.
It's virtue signaling, honestly, because what Trump's doing is he's signaling to this virtue that he's pro-LGBT, but yet now that he's been in government, they tried to, the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court if they could stop gay people from adopting, despite there being repeated longitudinal studies which show that kids raised by gay parents do not fare worse than their straight couple counterparts.
Did he ask or did he do it?
Well, he wanted to do it. So a lot.
Do we know that for sure? Is that source?
Yes. Yeah. You can look it up. Trump went to I believe it was Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court. If you want to look that up. Again, I don't know all the details off the top of my head, so I'd love to have more info right here.
But was there a?
Oh, wait. I think are you referring to when he said adoption agencies should be able to reject gay couples?
How long ago was that?
So this is June 4th of this year.
I thought it was more recent than that. I thought he was talking about a time specifically where he wanted to.
Taxpayer-funded organizations should be able to refuse to work with same-sex couples and others whom the group considers to be in violation of its religious beliefs.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying I agree with it. Here's the specifics.
I think that would still kind of fall in line with violation of LGBT rights, especially when you talk about like there are a bunch of kids in our foster care system right now. And gay couples obviously are far more likely to adopt because they can't have children. So.
You can do surrogates or,
Well, yeah, you can do surrogates, but also there's a lot of kids that need homes, that need loving parents. And I have 2 children. I'm a dad and I'm married, and I am a strong proponent of the nuclear family, actually. This is one of my most conservative traditional viewpoints, actually.
So you're pretty anti-Black Lives Matter then?
No, I know where you're going with that, though. But
what do you mean? Like one of their core tenets is disrupting the nuclear family?
I don't know if that's one of their core tenets.
It's on their web. It was on their website.
It was on
their
website
until they pulled it out.
Exactly,
because of backlash.
But the website, I don't agree.
Well, I'm not saying like an individual who's cheering for it. I'm saying like the organization itself.
Yeah, and I don't
for disrupting
like
the nuclear family.
And I don't like BLM organization. But what I was saying is,
so I was right.
Well, I like BLM the movement, but not the organization.
Well, I was referring to the organization, so you agree?
Sure, yeah. But yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of the nuclear family. But what I always say is that the nuclear family is just two parents raising children. It doesn't have to be a straight couple raising the kids. So
science actually agrees with you on that one.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to make a determination if it's male and female or just two parents. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, simply put, if we can get kids who are in orphanages or, who need to be adopted to any loving family, like, that's preferable to having a homeless kid who's living in the system, that's terrible.
Right. Oh,
so But yeah, there was a report that came out where it said, like, the science so far that we've done can't determine between male, traditional, like, parents of, like, a man and a woman or a same-sex couple.
Right.
And the children are benefited equally as far as we can tell so far.
Right. So far. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that, I don't know if it's the same study or another one, but I've looked at ones too that showed that they usually actually when children of gay parents fare worse, it's because of, like, social stigma because of the gay parents, not so much like because anything to do with the gay people necessarily. But yeah, I mean, that's one instance, I guess, of Donald Trump expressing some anti-LGBT sentiments. Just one of them. I don't think that Trump is like this malicious anti-gay president, but I also think that he's a bit virtue signaling when it comes to that.
Trump virtue signals a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tweeting repeal Section 230. It's a really, really bad idea. But he's trying to let conservatives know, like, I'm fighting for you. And it's kind of like, but you're giving them what they want when you say that. Like,
right.
These Democrats are like, no, wait, Trump, don't. Because they want it to happen. They want 230 gone.
He said he wanted to imprison people that desecrated the flag.
Yes.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Insanity.
Yeah. So,
but a lot of conservatives agreed with him.
Stupid virtue signaling.
If it's your property and you want to burn it, so long as you burn it safely, I got no problem.
Either virtue signaling or pure idiocy.
Yeah. See, that was one of that's like another thing that I was really concerned about with Trump is just his approach to free speech with his calls to repeal Section 230, with his calls to make it easier to sue media companies, right? To, like what we were just talking about. I think that
suing media companies isn't a bad thing.
It could be if you want to open up more libel laws and stuff. I mean, that was definitely to stop criticism of him, I believe.
Well, the issue is that there's a really tough standard right now from a ruling called Times v. Sullivan, where media outlets, you have to prove they knowingly lied, and it almost never even gets to the point where you can.
Right.
So there's things called anti-slap laws. Basically, the New York Times could publish whatever. Well, here's a better example. The Today Show outright lied. They used clever language in how they lied. And if I did sue, they'd just be like, get out of here. But I'm like, if we went to discovery, if you allow this case, I might find their messages where they say, hey, does this sound, legit because I know it's not true? Who knows what they're saying behind the scenes? Right. But you never even make it there. So I definitely think there's room to solve some of these problems. I actually think the solution is if there's a defamation, I should be able to sue for a correction if I can prove it was false. That means even if you make a mistake, I can say, I would like you to correct this. If you say no, I can sue you. And the relief from the court is publish the correction if it's proven in the court to be true. But we don't even have that right now. So something has to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know before we went live, you were showing me some examples of like media bias and stuff. And I would never deny that. The media is incredibly biased. And it would depend on the publication also. But I like your idea with the defamation thing. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Because it's weird right now where a news organization will publish something false, and then someone will sue and say, hey, or someone will complain it's false, and they'll say, well, we're not going to correct it. And it's like, if come on, like that's just dirty. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
but you can't sue for that. You should be able to. I don't know how you get to that point or how a law is made or whatever.
If you did, would they have to pay for court fees as well? Yeah.
If you proved it to be false, then they should be responsible for the court fees. Because that means before you went to court, you attempted to resolve the problem. So, or I should put it this way, if you don't attempt to resolve it, then maybe no. But if I contact you and say, hey, this article is incorrect, here's the proof, and you say F off, okay, I'm going to sue you, and when I win, you'll be responsible for court fees. If they say F off, well, then it's their problem.
What about damages?
No.
Okay.
If it's not intentional and you can't prove it, that's the problem. Like if I say something like, Ian Crossland was wearing a blue sweater.
Don't defame me like that.
And I was just like, you know what? I made a mistake because
the lights were off.
The lights were off, and it was an honest mistake. Then we need that leeway for error.
Yeah.
Otherwise, news organizations couldn't function. But we can't allow them to just be like, I lied, and you can't do anything about it. That's where they're at right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that like there's room for conversation there. But I think that Donald Trump's calling to repeal libel laws and the way he said it too, so we can make a bunch of money or whatever. I don't think that it was coming from a sincere and nuanced perspective like what you have. I think that it was coming from media companies are criticizing me and I want to be able to sue them easier.
I mean, I don't know. You talk to a Trump supporter, they'll tell you one thing. You talk to someone who hates Trump, they'll tell you the other. So as far as I can tell, is I just assess it on the merits. Yeah. Is there a good reason to go after these the current system? Absolutely. It's kind of messed up. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.